no better way to sense the beauty of rural England than to allow yourself a week or so's pure indulgence, strolling along field paths from village to village, through woods and pastures, from sheltered streams and out upon open banks. And if that winding trail should happen to be the Cotswold Way, then what rich fortune. This particular journey down the Cotswold Way is one of many fond memories. Since 1972, when I created the first guidebook to the route, I've spent countless happy days on this Scarpland cavalcade. It begins naturally at Chipping Campden, an exquisite little town tucked into a gentle fold of the Cotswold Hills. It's a real community with a strong sense of identity and civic pride. Situated at the northern tip of the Cotswold Escarpment, some 10 miles south of Stratford-upon-Avon, Camden has been the centre of rural affairs from Saxon times. As the word chipping implies, a place of barter, in the sense of a marketplace. From the beginning, wool was the major commodity, with wool grading or stapling the important activity, continuing right through the medieval period. A 12th century saying leaving no doubt on that matter. In Europe, the best wool is English. In England, the best wool is the Cotswold. It's time to turn our attention on the Cotswold Way itself, though precisely where this long green trail should begin is a matter of personal predilection. For me, it's the steps of St James's Church. Well, hello and welcome. I'm in Chipping Campden, at the northern tip of the Cotswolds, about to embark on a little journey that is something of a pilgrimage for me, the Cotswold Way, which runs from here for about 104 miles down to the city of Bath, along the Cotswold Escarpment. A dramatic journey. It's a journey I dearly love and one I'm going to get such pleasure in sharing with you, so let's be on our way. The elegant gateway was the grand entrance to the lost Camden House, slighted in the English Civil War. The red glow of the raging fire that illuminated that great house of St Baptist Hicks, still evident in the masonry to this day. Flanking Church Street, opposite the almshouses, a cart wash, from the days when communities like Camden had Wainwrights, not car showrooms, and a couple of dozen farm wagons to keep at the best of fettle. In dry weather, the metal rims would fall off the wheels and the spokes loosen as the timber shrank, so carts stood here up to their axles, draped in damp hessian. The almshouses themselves were built by Sir Baptist Hicks, their position serving to confirm, in the mind of his estate workforce, the benevolence of the great house. Entering the high street, we find Greville's house, with its rare perpendicular windows, mimicking the church tower. This was the home of William Greville. His epitaph, dated 1401, found in the church and written by himself, accords him as the flower of the wool merchants of all England, clearly not a man to hide his light under a bushel. Progressing along the street, the open-aisled and delightfully cobbled market hall catches attention, as was the intention. Built in 1627, it was part of Sir Baptist Hicks' grand design to turn Camden into a provincial capital. Ungrateful, his ambitions were blunted by the upheavals of the Civil War. As it stands, Camden is perfectly proportioned for its setting, unlike me. Beyond this, as a further island building, is the town hall, with medieval buttressing. Well, here's the stone that marks the official start to the Cotswold Way. Bath 100m. Well, that's not meters, that's wishful thinking. 100 miles. Well, to be more accurate, 104. Let's go. Well, now everyone embarking on the Cotswold Way is with us. Let's head for Dover's Hill. Having climbed Hoo Lane, we set foot for the very first time on the Cotswold Escarpment and wander along this wonderful pasture parade. I wandered this way a couple of years ago with an American friend who was immediately excited by the setting. He likened it to Little Bighorn in Montana, the the scene of General Custer's ill-judged last stand. Though for most visitors it will be seen as a reserve of mule sheep, not Sioux Indians. We next climb Broadway Hill, where stands Broadway Tower. At 1,000 feet above sea level, it's a truly handsome folly. The spiral staircase leads to a balcony. Leaning over the crenellated parapet, we can cast our eyes back to Chipping Campden, the first 4 miles quickly comprehended. Scanning round, we can look down upon Broadway, and over the Snows Hill Valley, the escarpment running on, backed by the outlying Breedon Hill and the more distant Malvern Hills, forming the western horizon. Well, there's Broadway Tower itself. We've just been up it. It's a wonderful spot. William Morris certainly thought so. He lived here for a time, walked up and down to Broadway to get his provisions, and we're just about to do just the same. Despite the busy road running down its single street, Broadway is understandably popular with visitors. It's a fascinating place to wander. There's a certain mix of thatch and half-timber, adding pleasing contrast to the variety of lovely vernacular stone cottages and shops. There's ample scope for refreshment and lodging here. Once horses and carriages patronised the various inns, of which the Lig and Arms is the most famous. Broadway being an important stop prior to the daunting climb up Fish Hill, on the important coaching route from Worcester to London via Oxford. The Cotswold Way now turns to the growing escarpment, ascending Burr Hill, traversing Laverton Hill to Shenborough, with its Iron Age hill fort, before descending a shy valley to enter Stanton. We enter the village by Sheppey Corner. Dear little Stanton, one of the most sequestered of Cotswold idylls. Stanton's houses are neat, without ostentation. Released from agricultural ties, the farmhouses have become places of quiet repose. Horses and walkers wend up and down its main thoroughfare in timeless fashion. It's said that John Wesley was attracted to Stanton. It's rather likely that he will have preached from this handsome preaching cross. Another reason why he was attracted to Stanton, rumour has it that he was attracted to the vicar's daughters. Again, that's only rumour. It's a handsome place. I love Stanton. Aside from the medieval preaching cross, capped with a 17th century globe, a lane leads to a tree-shaded St. Michael's Church. It's a beautiful spot, both within and without, a place to reflect and watch the rooks and doves circling in the sky. At the head of the village, the Mountain, popular for bar snacks and serving the local brew, Donington's, a real ale of rare distinction. For the wayfarer, moderation must be the watchword. We've only covered a tenth of our journey. We next stride on to Stanway, traversing pastures deeply etched with ridge and furrow. First we encounter the timber-built cricket pavilion, set upon staddle stones. Once these stones were used as the base for a corn rick, the timber planks spread across forming a lattice. These stone mushrooms stop rodents from gaining entry, working in the same effect here. The pavilion was presented to the village by the author of Peter Pan and cricketing fanatic Sir James Barry, a frequent guest at Stanway. In the grounds of Stanway House stands a great 14th century tithe barn. dating from the time when the Abbot of Tewkesbury held the rights to the parish tithe. On occasion it's used for special functions, much as a village hall. Our first glimpse of Stanway House is across the lawn. We can see the Cotswold stone at its stunning best, a gorgeous, honey-toned oolitic limestone, contriving to radiate sun even on the dullest days. For 800 years the estate had belonged to Tewkesbury Abbey. The present grand house was built in 1620 for Sir Paul Tracy, in a classic Jacobean manner, with grand west-facing oriel windows pouring light into its great hall through 60 panes. Imagine having to meticulously clean each one. Pain's the word. The gatehouse features scallop shell motifs, deriving from the Tracy coat of arms. Stanway, home of Lord Needpath, is often used as a location for period filming, and one can quite understand why. Of my two favourite features in the village, one is just off the way at the crossroads. It's the most handsome war memorial, the plinth inscribed by Eric Gill, surmounted by a fabulous bronze of George slaying the redoubtable dragon. The other special moment is a piece of footbath furniture en route beyond the estate yard. It's a wonderful kissing gate with a swan's head motif, quite the best of its genre I've ever seen. The way wanders on via Sleepy Wood Stanway to climb the Ridge and Furrow corrugated scarp via Lower Coscombe and Stumps Cross to follow Camden Lane to reach the scarp brink at Beckbury Iron Age Hill Fort. Before descending again upon the stone-cobbled lane by Hale's Fruit Farm, with its most welcome orchard tea room, to reach Hale's Abbey. Hales has an enduring fascination for me. I adore donning the headphones of its tape tour, a spellbinding experience, casting one back to the silent, cloistered life of the Cistercian monks. Discredited as mere honey, but for all the time the blood of Christ was upheld as a true relic, Hales was hailed a place of reverence. Pilgrims made great sacrifice to journey here, perhaps the only significant journey they may ever have made. Indeed, there must have been many an unrecorded traveller's tale to rival those told by Chaucer in his Canterbury Tales. The adjacent church, dedicated to St. Nicholas, is actually older than the ruins and contains magnificent medieval wall paintings. Still called the Pilgrim's Way, the footpath to Winchcombe leads through the curiously named Puck Pit Lane, proving superstition long clouded the lives of country folk, Puck Pit being the Pyx's Hollow. And should you wander this way when the light mist hangs over a dew-draped gossamer in the meadows, then perhaps you too may catch a glimpse of these cheeky imps. With 17 miles accomplished, we enter Winchcombe, rather after the style of Chipping Camden, hemmed in by hills, though here giving even more protection. Once the centre of Saxon administration, with a county all of its own, King Offa establishing a nunnery here in 790, and by the 12th century a great abbey gave the town regional importance, when Cheltenham was but a few timber houses straggling along a muddy lane. The parish church of St. Peter's is a feature not to miss. Running around the outside, it boasts a string of gargoyles to rival the best in the land. One must assume they are caricatures. I think I'd rather be so depicted than forgotten. At the centre of the present town is the town hall, with a tourist office, museum and stocks. Stocks tended to be used to sober up drunkards. Beer sickness was always a common ailment. Though you'll notice, rather oddly, there are actually 7 holes. I wonder, does this imply a one-legged regular? The way departs down Vineyard Street to cross the infant River Isbourne. This road was once called Duckpool Street. Clearly miscreants had a hard time of it in Winchcombe, but what with its stocks and its ducking pool. Sudeley Castle, a favourite of kings, all the more romantic when the sun's rays catch its golden masonry. It's a sumptuous building. Catherine Parr, only surviving wife of Henry VIII, who died in childbirth, lies in the little chapel in the beautifully landscaped gardens. The chapel is a scaled-down version of the parish church, complete with gargoyles. Despite being slighted in the Civil War, much of the castle survives. It's a major Cotswold attraction, well meriting a visit. Bellisnap has long been a popular short excursion from Corndean Lane, a Neolithic long barrow with a false entrance and side chambers. Considering it must be at least 4,000 years old, it's a remarkable survival. The wafer-thin dry walling in the hornwork, quite the oldest standing handiwork of this nature you'll probably ever see. Cleve Common forms the highest, broadest and wildest expanse of open country in the Cotswolds. The walker may gaze dreamily across vast distances from the craggy scarp edge, and relish the many sides of this breathing space for Cheltonians. The famous National Hunt racecourse at Prestbury, below, had its forerunner up here, a figure-of-8 track still popular as a gallop, sweeping through the rabbit-infested gorse. Local artist Roger Ellis has a special affinity for this place.
I think one of the most important things to give a snapshot of a place in a few square inches on a map like this is to really get to know a place well and to spend a lot of time there, and somehow I think the atmosphere and the flavour of the place comes through somehow into the picture. First of all, I work on the roads. I just put the roads in based from old maps, because I'm really interested in old and antique maps. Bring them up to date a little bit, and then from those I draw everything else in by eye from other information. I draw in the villages, the houses, the streams, the shape of the land from contours, and gradually work it up. I tried to show the shape of the land on this, so if you look at the map from a few feet away, you can imagine that you're a few thousand feet up in the air looking down on the landscape. And the illustrations round the edges sums up for me what a lot of what I see in the Cotswolds area.
The walker strides on through fields and woods, sweeping through the Cotswold Valley and up into Lineover, ancient, scarp-hugging, woodland habitat, climbing Ravensgate Hill. To reach Cheltenham's next great panoramic balcony, Charlton King's Common and Leckhampton Hill. Throughout all this journey, Cheltenham fills every right-hand glance. For all its growth, particularly with the coming of the railway, one cannot but be aware of the effect of trees on the town, parks and beautiful tree-lined streets of verdant latticework. The 18th century saw the emergence of Cheltenham from illicit tobacco town to the resort of the wealthy, fashion-conscious set who came to partake of the spa waters. In the main and overindulgent lot, the Pitfield Pump Room, a notable survival of that time. The 19th century brought fine architecture, with churches and schools built in the best of Cotswold stone, much of which derives from the secret side of Cleve Hill, the Puckham Valley. While the 20th century has brought industry, finance, administration, and burgeoning estates running right up to the foot of the Cotswold Scarp. No visitor to Cheltenham has really surveyed the town unless they've stood beside the Devil's Chimney, a quirky folly created by quarrymen around 1790, whilst embellishing a natural rift for a stone extraction incline. In many ways, it symbolises Cheltenham's picturesque harmony with the Cotswolds. The lights of the Gloucester Vale twinkle below a setting sun from many a Crickley Hill dusk, a popular country park with more than generous views to tantalise the curious visitor. Some 40 miles accomplished, we stride on via Barrowwake and Whitcomb Woods, passing just above Whitcomb Roman Villa. This is an excellent spot to admire the great sweeps of the scarps so recently traversed. One can easily imagine a thriving Romano-British farming community in this setting, with all the productive ingredients to sustain a comfortable lifestyle. Perhaps this was the residence of a retired officer from nearby Cleveland, the Roman fort that was the forerunner of present-day Gloucester. Many a Cotswold Way walker has had cause to be grateful for the appropriately named Haven Tea Garden, home of Rose Hellerman.
I've lived here all my life, and I started this tea garden when I retired from business. I worked in the nylon factory down in Brockworth for nearly 20 years, and my husband was alive then, and he had a heart condition. And I thought, well, what a good idea with all these walkers going by to open a tea garden. And so I did. And I've been going ever since. That's 16 years now. They come from all over the world. We just said goodbye to 2 people from Holland. I've had people from Japan staying, Germany, America, from all over the place. I think the view from here is lovely, and people, by the time they get through the woods, they're a bit tired, and just to sit down and a cup of tea and perhaps a cake or sandwich or something like that is just what they need. Everybody who comes here seems to be very satisfied. I make all my own food. I make scones, homemade scones. I make fruit cakes. I do buttered toast. I can do toasted sandwiches. I only do snacks. I don't cook a proper meal as such, you know. I've got 2 little bedrooms, and I've got 4 people coming in tonight, actually, just for bed and breakfast. We have Cooper's Hill. This is Cooper's Hill, the beginning of Cooper's Hill. And every bank holiday Monday, which is generally at the end of May now, we have a cheese rolling ceremony. And 4 cheeses are rolled. They're 8-pound cheeses. And people tumble down the front of this very steep hill, 1 in 3. I ran down for a cheese during the war. I was about 17 and I came down first, and so I got the prize, which was money in those days. Because it was a wooden cheese that was rolled, the cheese was on rashers, you see, there was a little bit of cheese inside, so I had the indignity of going all the way up the front of the hill for the last race. It's very peaceful here. We've got a lot of birds. And butterflies. I've never seen so many painted ladies. Apparently this country is inundated with them this year from France. And I counted at least 30 on the bush there that we've had this last 2 or 3 days. There are peacocks and red admiral and tortoiseshell, and of course the meadow browns, and there were a couple of yellow brimstones the other day. I get classes of school children. In fact, I had a class from Castle Hill School, and there were about 28 children rushing about. I compiled a little treasure hunt for them in the garden, and one of the questions was, what is a painted lady? And one little girl came up and said, is this a lady film star with lipstick and powder on, Mrs. Elliman? I said, oh no. I said, it's a butterfly, and I showed her, and there were about 8 in the garden there that day. It was a lovely day. They had a lovely time.
We've now reached the part of the Cotswold Escarpment most richly clothed in beechwood. The monastic life of a Benedictine order has its attractions. Bells chime as reminders of regular prayers, and life appears unruffled. Onwards over Painswick Beacon, a memorable viewpoint, and on down to Painswick itself, resting proudly upon its Cotswold Ridge. This queen of Cotswold villages has a rare architectural dignity, its stone whiter than hitherto seen. Handsome clothiers' houses, product of the 18th century wool weaving industry, tightly clustered on the narrow ridge around an irregular square churchyard. which contains 18th century tea caddy and table tombs, and lining the paths 99 yew trees. According to local legend, the 100th never grows. The church itself is absolutely gorgeous, its spire a notable landmark for miles around. Oh, that looks painful. Spectacle stocks. But that's where the pain in Painswick comes from. Ooh. Friday Street is so named from the Friday Market. The attractive gabled house in the corner has market aisle pillars incorporated within, similar to those you may remember seeing at Camden. Painswick, 48 miles down the route, is not the sort of place to hasten from. There's lots to admire, though any route of the calibre of the Cotswold Way has an inevitable knack of promoting itchy feet. And so we stride on over Edge Common to Haresfield Beacon. Momentous in that it's the midpoint on the walk, some 52 miles down the trail. The way passes the Shortwood relief topograph to enter Standish Wood. Descending Thieves Lane, bound for the Golden Valley, a long urban ribbon running deeply into the Cotswold Scarp. The Stroudwater navigation is no longer continuous. The canal formerly linked the Thames with the Severn. There were 28 locks up the valley to the entrance to the 2-mile-long Sapperton Tunnel, which linked through to Thames Head. The wool weaving industry brought mills to Stroud, being famed for its military tunics and billiard bays, though there's no such manufacture here today. Ebley Mill, dating from 1862, now adapted as local government offices, is quite the most magnificent survivor from the age of imposing industrial architecture. Overlooking Ebley is Selsley, with All Saints' Church strikingly modelled after a church in the Austrian Tyrol. On the wall of the Bell Inn, a novel parish map crafted in pottery to celebrate the Queen's Silver Jubilee in 1977. It shows us the way onto Selsley Common, which is far and the best place to view the Stroud Valley. Moving on through Penhill and Stanley Woods, we reach Coley Peak picnic site, with its open long barrow and some of the best views on the routes thus far, notably enjoyed from the topograph on Froster Hill. It stands on a strip of National Trust land containing native limestone grassland, a fine habitat for butterflies and orchids. Another traditional scene of crazy cheese-rolling antics in common with Cooper's Hill, the trophy, a double Gloucester cheese, though for the majority the inevitable prize, a double fracture and a period of convalescence. Well, I've just been inside Hetty Pegler's tomb. On the Cotswold Way there are several of these Neolithic long barrows. We'll have encountered already Bella's Nap, and to the south of here there's Nantau's tomb. 4,000-year-old tumuli like this will have been ceremonial centres where the dead of a tribe, the chief and his family will have been carried, and his forebears' bones taken back out, and he will have come in as into the womb of the earth. Interesting places, aren't they? At hand, the dramatic next stage of the walk can be anticipated with relish. Through the steep wooded scarp beneath Hetty Pegler's tomb to Yulebury and on over Camlong Down, a distinctive section of the scarp locally known as the Tableland. Hidden in the coombe beneath Yulebury, the village of Ewley. Well, one of the special delights of the Cotswold Way is there are pubs, just like this one here, the Crown in Ewley, where you can get the local brew, no less. The Ewley Bitter, brewed in the village. And it's a delight, special delight. I really love this. That's worth doing the Cotswold Way for. Further into the Ulm Valley, though off the Cotswold Way, stands quite the most complete composition of Cotswold Tudor Manor House, court, church and mill at Owlpen. Sheltering beneath beechwoods, it's a real gem, well worth taking a circuitous ramble to discover.
But Mrs. Mander, the owner, is Swedish, and it's a Swedish tradition to have dried lavender and buttercups in all the haunted rooms. And in Queen Margaret's room, they've actually got those, but they also had the room exorcised. And the ghost moved out for a while to the courthouse, but we since think she's come back again. But a recent visitor was alone in the room, a male visitor, and he noticed a lady standing in the mirror, and he was quite badly shaken by it. But the most famous one is Margaret of Anjou, who we think is the wife of Henry VI. And she's actually been seen in Queen Margaret's room, standing in the mirror in the window near the lead chute, which dates about 1540. And she's actually been spotted with long white hair flowing and a long white robe, and she's been seen by male members of the family, not female. And she's bent over and crouched as if writing, and then she stands up, moves to the foot of the bed and disappears.
The way slips through Dursley, a useful place to stock up on provisions. The market hall will surely tempt the camera from your pack. It used to be known as Drunken Dursley, a doggerel to run alongside Strutting Stroud and Painswick Proud. There's a steep climb onto Stinchcombe Hill, but once accomplished, the perimeter walk around the wooded fringe of this significant escarpment promontory is quite memorable. In particular, the view from Drakestone Point and down through Hollow Combe. These views marking the Cotswold Way's first sight of the South Wolds. Passing through North Nibley, we climb onto Nibley Knoll to inspect the Tyndale Monument. Unlike most prospect towers that are built to boost someone's ego, this structure serves as a reminder of the life and noble works of William Tyndale. Tyndale is thought to have been born in North Nibley, but what is certain is that he translated the Bible from Latin to English, the language of the ploughboy, as Tyndale would have put it, and for which great service he suffered martyrdom at the stake. After Westridge Woods, the way drops into Wootton Under Edge, a town as rich in wool connections as any. Stride on down Long Street from the Tolsey with its striking clock. and swing into Church Street to enter the churchyard of the Dawes and Perry almshouses, where you'll find the most delightful chapel. Further confirming the town's long connection with sheep, situated directly below is the Old Ram Inn. Old not only in that it no longer functions as an inn, but it is said to have been the lodging place for the masons working on the parish church, which was built in 1283. You'll not be in the least surprised that the building has a veritable procession of resident ghosts, some spookier than others. The Cotswold Way next sweeps over Wortley Hill and into the Kilcoot Valley before emerging at the Somerset Monument, a prospect tower that soars 120 feet into the sky, built in 1846 to the memory of Lord Somerset, fourth son of the 5th Duke of Beaufort, who served under the Duke of Wellington at the Battle of Waterloo. It's an imposing reminder that Badminton Park is but 4 miles away. Passing on via Bath Lane, we glance by Horton Court, a National Trust property sheltering beneath the shallow wooded scarp. Its earliest fabric dating from around 1140, making it the oldest continuously inhabited domestic house in the Cotswolds. The Sodbury camp is unusual and immediately impressive, a double-banked rampart forming a huge plateau-top enclosure. It's at least 2,000 years old, and yet so big. What must have been its height when newly created, and what did it contain? In passing the Dog Inn at Old Sodbury, famed for its extensive bar menu, we run close to the entrance to the 2.5-mile long Sodbury Railway Tunnel. There are 6 ventilation towers, surrounded by construction spoil, that they were castellated, no doubt, from the Badminton influence, where even field barns look like frontier posts. Venturing away from the scarp, many a visitor is tempted by happy memories of the film Dr. Dolittle to seek out Castle Coombe. Location for other notable films too, it once featured as a fishing village. While the valley pastures do harbour docks, it's a Cotswold village, sure enough, a place to stroll dreamily. But another world from the Stantons and Slaughters at the heart of common Cotswold perception. Faithful to the Cotswold Way, we pass through Tormarton and cross the M4 motorway, passing beneath Hinton Hill to reach Durham. The name suggests a long association with deer and may allude to a Roman deer enclosure connected with a lost villa whose foundations may lie beneath the present house. The National Trust have care of the great house and park, and the park retains a large resident herd of fallow deer to this day. The nearby Tollgate Tea Shop has won my affection as a port of call whenever I'm in this part of the world, and a warm welcome for Cotswold wayfarers is assured throughout the year. From here we head on through Durham Wood, haunted, it is said, by bad-tempered ghosts, towards Cold Ashton, and across the verdant Hamswell Valley onto Lansdowne Hill, where we find the Grenville Monument. This was the scene of a particularly bloody Civil War battle, where the Cornish Royalist forces under Sir Bevil Grenville surged up the Scarp to assail the Parliamentary army defending Bath under Sir William Waller. In view, across the plateau to the south, is Beckford Tower, built for William Beckford of Fonthill Gifford near Salisbury, who in later life lived in Lansdowne Terrace, directly below in Bath. To my eyes, it's a curious creation, an architectural misfit. Below spreads the deep Avon Valley and the city of Bath, rising in terraces up the steep valley sides. The way draws us irresistibly to the heart of the city via Weston, Sion Hill and Victoria Park. Passing along the Royal Avenue, we get a wonderful view up the sweeping lawn to the Royal Crescent, completed in 1774, the majestic triumph of architect John Wood the Younger. Originally it overlooked fields. It's most impressive, and it is said to have been modelled on Prior Park, itself now lovingly maintained by the National Trust. The way winds through the elegant quarter by Queen Square and New Bond Street, by the shopping and tourist throng, leading us at last to the Abbey Churchyard, the majestic heart of the city and our journey's end. West front of Bath Abbey, an irresistible allure. See the angels ascending ladders to heaven on either side of the great double transom window. Well, I've made it. I'm in Bath. I'm in the Abbey Churchyard with the Roman baths over there to my left, and behind me, the great west front of Bath Abbey. It's been a wonderful experience and one I always treasure. It's been great fun, and I do hope the video has inspired you to want to come and do the Cotswold Way yourself. The trail may be complete, but don't turn tail and head for home quite yet. You should allow this most famous and elegant spa city the benefit of a few final hours. Elsewhere on our southward trail, you've seen and loved the warm Cotswold oolitic stone. Its architectural joys, sometimes humble, frequently exquisite. Yet here in Bath we see a whole new dimension, formalised as a fashionable suburb of the metropolis, rising like Rome on 7 hills. Well, almost. The Cotswold Way is deeply rooted in my life's journey, and I would hope that this film may play some part in winning your resolve to plan your own expeditions. I know I'll be back. How about you? Come soon, come often. You won't regret it.